Health experts are calling the amount of salt in our food a national scandal and say it's causing up to 14,000 preventable deaths each year. The Consensus on Salt and Health checked salt levels in 28 food categories and found fewer than 4% meet government guidelines. Among the worst offenders were Baxter's Cullen Skink soup, which contained more than 1.5 times the maximum salt target for soups. Aldi's Piri Piri smoked mackerel fillets had 4 times the maximum target. And Galaxy Ultimate Marshmallow Hot Chocolate had 5 times the maximum target for drinks. Well, here now is Katharine Jenner from the Consensus on Salt and Health. Thank you so much for coming in to talk to us. Now, why is this a national scandal? Because we hear a lot about sugar, but what is it that's so dangerous about salt?
So there is a very strong evidence base showing that salt puts up your blood pressure over a longish period of time, which leads to strokes and heart attacks, and that's where the preventable deaths come in. So manufacturers, Public Health England and the government have all collectively decided to reduce the amount of salt in our food slowly and gradually over time, ideally so you and I don't need to make healthier choices in our food. The salt will just be lowered. But that just doesn't seem to be happening. It seems to have been put on hold, it's falling behind, and it's really affecting our health.
Now, it's interesting that you say that we don't necessarily know what it is that we are putting into our bodies, because things like hot chocolate, we would never think it had those sorts of levels of salt. So it's quite hard, isn't it?
It's very hard. And in fact, we asked people and we found that people think that crisps and snacks and ready meals are the biggest sources of salt in the diet. But actually, it's those everyday foods like breads and breakfast cereals and pasta sauces, and they all add up over a period of the day. But you're right, something like a sweet food like a hot chocolate, you wouldn't expect to have much salt in it, and this one we found had more salt in it than a packet of crisps.
And you mentioned bread, and I'm not sure anyone would really think about looking at the salt levels in bread, but what can we do to keep an eye on the sort of salt levels in the everyday foods that we buy?
So you can read the label and try and choose lower salt options. It's quite hard to do. We've actually developed an app called Food Switch that you can scan in the barcode of your favourite foods, and it will offer you healthier choices, but that can be quite time-consuming. The best thing would be just to not add salt to your food, and try and speak out if you see foods that are high in salt, and really just try and choose those low-salt foods.
But there has been a drop, though. In the last few years, the food industry has dropped, I think, by 11%. So we are getting there, sort of, aren't we?
That's right, but they're meant to be reducing about 10% every 2 to 3 years. So they should have gone much further than that already, and that's not really now showing in our diet. So our salt intakes had actually fallen slightly, which was saving lives and saving millions of pounds to the NHS as well. All it requires is a little bit of investment into Public Health England, and they can support this campaign properly and see our salt intakes come down.
All right, Katharine, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Well, head online to our website, itv.com/news, to find out more about those government salt targets, and you can also find tips on what can be done to lower your intake.